Hello, my name is Tim Harkness. I'm a sports psychologist. I work in elite sport in London. And I'm here in Hong Kong running a series of workshops called By Design. And this workshop is called Communication by Design. But before I talk about the workshop, I'll tell you about John Gottman, who's an American psychologist. And he can do something quite amazing. He can watch a married couple, and within 5 minutes he can tell with 95% accuracy whether they're going to be married in 5 years' time. And that sounds quite frightening, but what he's doing, he's looking particularly for two things. The one thing that he's looking for is if conversations start harshly, if the couple debate, but they debate by starting on a harsh note. And when they try and repair the conversation, those repair attempts get rebuffed. That's a danger signal in any relationship. And the second thing that he's looking for is what he calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And what he means by the 4 horsemen, if there's criticism, if there's contempt, if there's defensiveness, or if there's stonewalling, if he sees those signs in a relationship, it actually means trouble. He's written a book called The 7 Principles of Happy Marriages, of Successful Marriages. But the principles apply to any relationship actually. The 7 principles are, first of all, know each other. This means that you've actually got to take some time to really try and understand the other person. And then you have to nurture fondness and admiration. That's the second point. Nurture fondness and admiration for the other person, because we can all find things about each other that irritate us that we don't like. But if we look, we can also find things that we do admire and that we are fond of. And it's important that we turn our attention towards those things if we want the relationship to be successful. The third is that we need to turn towards each other. This is a big world that we live in some ways it's a frightening world, and it's such a waste if we're to find ourselves in competition with those people closest to us, when we really should be emphasizing the fact that we're a team, we're in this together. In a big scary world, sometimes we've only got a few people that we can really rely on, and we need to more regularly turn towards those people and rely on them and allow them to rely on us. The next principle is to allow ourselves to be influenced sometimes, because we're only going to be able to influence other people if they feel that they too can influence us. And then when there are problems in the relationship, some of those problems we can solve. That's the next principle of successful marriages and successful relationships, is when we do have a problem, if we can, solve it. But the principle after that is sometimes there are problems in a relationship that just can't be solved. And those we just need to get on with. And the example John Gottman uses is some people have got a bad knee. And you just live with that bad knee. Doesn't mean your life is over. You just get on with it. And there are going to be some parts of a relationship that aren't that good. Doesn't mean the whole relationship is a bad relationship. Just get on with it and turn towards the parts of the relationship that are good. So we need to overcome those difficulties that we have in a relationship. And the last part of success in a relationship, success in a marriage, is that we need to create meaning. We need to turn this relationship into something bigger than just what I want or just what the other person wants. Between the two of us, we can create a meaningful relationship that's bigger than the sum of its parts. And that's kind of the foundation really for successful communication, is a successful relationship. That's really where it starts. And once you've got this successful relationship, for sure, there's still going to be difficult conversations. A difficult conversation we could define as being when emotions run strong, when the stakes are high, and when opinions vary. When you don't have all of those 3 things, you've got an easy conversation. When you've got those 3 things, suddenly you've got a difficult conversation. And I know I had a friend called Ralph, and he was just really, really good at having difficult conversations. And I used to think he was just a natural. But as I watched him and as I read more about difficult conversations, I started to realize that for sure he was a natural, but he had skills and he was using techniques. And those skills and those techniques were skills that I could get a little bit better at also. And they kind of fall into three main categories. The first category is that we need to start the conversation right. And that means we need to start softly rather than harshly. Because, and this is something else John Gottman says, when you start a conversation harshly, it's going to end harshly. When you start it softly, it's going to end softly. So we need to start it softly, and we do that by establishing mutual respect. We need to establish that you feel that I respect you, and I feel that you respect me. And we need to establish mutual purpose. What is this conversation really about? Because sometimes conversations can start and we're a little bit distracted, we're a little bit sidelined, we're talking about a red herring. We need to be talking about an outcome that we both want. Sometimes we need to go to the bigger picture to find this mutual purpose. So that's the first part of the conversation, mutual respect, mutual purpose, with a soft starter. The second part is sometimes these difficult conversations are going to go wrong. That's just a fact of difficult conversations. Sometimes somebody's going to get angry. When they get angry, they're going to start controlling, they're going to start labeling, they're going to start attacking. Sometimes somebody's going to just get silent, they're going to withdraw. They could get sarcastic, they could start avoiding the topic. And when this happens, when we end up being silent or violent, we have to recover the conversation. And we recover the conversation by using one of 4 skills. The first, it's a classic apology. Apologize for the fact that things are going wrong, or apologize for the fact that you've said something wrong. The second is to try and apply some perspective, that you're not talking about everything that this person does, you're not talking about everything that this person is, but you're talking about a specific behavior or a specific incident. The third is to contrast, because sometimes people try and read our minds. Sometimes people put words in our mouths. We've got to be sure that when words do get put in our mouths, we make it clear that that's not what we were trying to say. What we were really trying to say was something different. And the fourth way to recover a conversation is commitment, and that's just to commit to an outcome, to say, look, we don't seem to be agreeing, we seem to be really struggling here, but I'm committed to sorting this out, and I'm going to hang in this conversation until we manage to do that. So that's the second skill of a difficult conversation, which is when things go wrong, know how to recover. And the third skill, which is also a crucial skill, is that of achieving shared understanding, because the conversation will only be resolved when the other person feels understood and you feel understood also. It's not enough that you just feel understood, and it's not enough that they just feel understood. You both have to feel understood. And the way that you go about this is you need to state your point of view. And in stating your point of view, you have to remember that facts are much more persuasive than opinions. So you need to start by observing or stating at least 3 facts, and then say that it is based on these 3 facts, these 3 observations. Observation 1, observation 2, observation 3. This is what you've based your opinion upon. But immediately after having expressed your opinion, you need to ask the other person what their opinion is. And you need to ask them what observations they've based that opinion on. So you're asking them, you may be paraphrasing, and you may need to ask priming questions where you actually probe a little bit, and you ask them what they've actually seen or heard that causes them to have the opinion that they have. And hopefully, by going through this process, not necessarily easily, not necessarily quickly, but bearing in mind that the majority of misunderstanding is caused by not the fact that one of you is a bad person, or one of you is ignorant, one of you is mistaken. It's not really why we disagree. The real reason why we disagree is because you have one perspective and I have another. And the theory of communication by design is that by the time we've fully shared our observations, because you're a reasonable person, and because I'm a reasonable person also, after having fully pooled our observations, and after having fully established mutual purpose, we can achieve that shared understanding.